Dr. Zekthara's crystalline appendages trembled as she reviewed the data for the third time. The impossible numbers glowed on her holographic display, each metric more bewildering than the last. The human subjects shouldn't have survived the first phase, let alone excelled beyond every theoretical projection. The Galactic Ethics Committee had sanctioned the experiment reluctantly. The humans, these bipedal mammals from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star, had burst onto the galactic stage with alarming audacity. Within 50 cycles of first contact, they had established trade routes, learned 17 galactic languages, and somehow convinced the Rigelian Banking Consortium to extend them credit despite having no previous financial history. The established species were concerned. "We need to understand their breaking point," High Chancellor Vexmore had declared during the emergency session. "Every species has limits. Every civilization has vulnerabilities we can exploit if they become problematic." The experiment was elegant in its cruelty. 40 human volunteers, told they were participating in a cultural exchange program, were transported to Station Omega-7, a research facility orbiting a dying red giant. There, they would face a series of escalating challenges designed to systematically destroy their psychological, physical, and social cohesion. Phase 1. Isolation. Each human was placed in a featureless chamber for 72 hours with minimal food and water. The Zephyrians, who had designed this phase, expected complete mental breakdown within 18 hours. Their own species couldn't endure more than 6 hours of such sensory deprivation. Instead, the humans adapted. Subject 23, a female named Sarah Chen, began composing music in her head, tapping complex rhythms against the walls. By hour 36, she was teaching the rhythm to the monitoring system by modulating her heartbeat, effectively turning her own vital signs into a communication method. Subject 17, Marcus Thompson, started an elaborate mental construction project, rebuilding the engine of his grandfather's motorcycle from memory. He spent hours visualizing each component, mentally disassembling and reassembling the machine with increasing precision. When researchers analyzed his neural activity, they discovered he was effectively running complex engineering simulations entirely in his organic brain. Others told themselves stories, performed mental mathematics, or created elaborate fantasy worlds. One subject, Dr. Emily Vasquez, began mentally cataloging every scientific paper she'd ever read, cross-referencing them, and generating new hypotheses. By hour 60, she had theoretically solved 3 problems that had puzzled xenobiologists for decades. When the 72 hours ended, the humans emerged not broken, but somehow sharpened. Their problem-solving scores had increased. Their emotional stability ratings were higher than baseline. They asked to do it again. Phase 2 was designed by the Korath Empire, masters of psychological warfare. The humans were subjected to impossible tasks, puzzles with no solutions, challenges designed to induce learned helplessness and despair. The Korath themselves had never completed their own trials. The humans approached each impossible task with disturbing enthusiasm. When presented with a maze that reconfigured itself faster than any known species could adapt, the humans didn't try to solve it. Instead, they turned it into a game. Teams formed spontaneously. They developed a betting system. They created rules, assigned points, and somehow found joy in the very impossibility of the challenge. "They're treating our psychological torture device like a recreational activity," the lead Korath researcher reported, his voice heavy with disbelief. Even more disturbing was their approach to the unsolvable logic puzzles. Where other species would eventually surrender or become catatonic, humans would simply change the rules. They'd find loopholes that shouldn't exist, approach problems from angles that defied conventional reasoning, or reject the fundamental premises of the challenge itself. Subject 31, a former teacher named David Kim, solved the infinite regression paradox, a problem specifically designed to trap minds in circular thinking, by writing a song about it. Somehow, the musical interpretation revealed a solution that had escaped the greatest philosophers in the galaxy for millennia. By Phase 3, Dr. Zekthara was beginning to suspect the experiment had gone terribly wrong. Phase 3 was the hegemony's contribution, pure physical impossibility. The humans were given inadequate tools and insufficient resources to complete essential survival tasks. The environment was hostile, the challenges were designed to require capabilities no species possessed, and failure meant genuine consequences. The humans thrived. They didn't just adapt to the impossible conditions, they improved them. Using materials that shouldn't have worked together, they constructed shelter that was superior to the station's own emergency habitats. They found ways to purify water using techniques that violated 3 known laws of chemistry. Most impossibly, they began helping each other, not despite the competition, but because of it. Competition makes us stronger, but cooperation makes us unstoppable. Subject 8. A former athlete named Janet Rodriguez explained to a bewildered researcher she was sharing her food rations with a weaker teammate while simultaneously breaking efficiency records. The final straw came during Phase 4. The humans were separated into arbitrary groups and told these groups were now enemies. Historical data from dozens of species showed this approach triggered inevitable conflict. Territorial instincts, resource competition, and manufactured tribal identity should have turned them against each other. Instead, the humans immediately began working to reunite the groups. They developed secret communication systems. They shared resources across group boundaries. When the researchers introduced actual scarcity, the humans developed increasingly sophisticated cooperation mechanisms. They held clandestine meetings, created underground supply networks, and even staged elaborate fake conflicts to mislead the monitors while secretly maintaining unity. Subject 12. A former diplomat named Hassan al-Rashid somehow convinced 3 other enemy groups to participate in what he called mutually assured cooperation, a strategy so counterintuitive that the research team needed 17 hours just to understand what he was proposing. Dr. Zekthara's hands were shaking now as she prepared her final report. The humans hadn't just survived the experiment, they had transformed it. Every phase designed to break them had instead become a springboard for unprecedented innovation, cooperation, and growth. The most disturbing data point was the exit interviews. When asked about their experience, the humans uniformly described it as challenging but rewarding. They wanted to know if they could bring their families next time. Several asked if they could design their own phases. Subject 23, Sarah Chen, had submitted a formal proposal for advanced collaborative problem-solving under extreme conditions, essentially a human-designed version of the same experiment, but harder. As Dr. Zekthara transmitted her report to the Galactic Ethics Committee, she included a personal recommendation. Terminate all hostile research into human limitations immediately. We are not studying subjects, we are training them, and with each impossible challenge we present, we are making them stronger. The humans had not just survived the experiment designed to break them. They had perfected it, turned it into something that enhanced rather than diminished their capabilities. The galaxy had sought to find humanity's weakness and had instead forged something unprecedented, a species that grew stronger, not despite adversity, but because of it. The experiment was meant to break them. Instead, the humans had broken every assumption about what was possible, and they were just getting started.